Fantastic Fest 2023 has officially come to a close, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all my thoughts and my reviews on all the new movies I saw. So we got a lot of movies to talk about. Let's have some fun. Hello to all my movie fans out there, and welcome to today's video. I was so lucky and fortunate enough to get the opportunity to have media remote access to the film festival this year. That's right, unfortunately I wasn't able to attend the festival live and in person, but one of these days, fingers crossed, I'll be there in Austin to enjoy all the fun stuff and these great movies to see in person. But again, I was lucky enough to get remote access, and I was able to see 12 new up-and-coming movies, and in today's video, I'm going to be ranking as well as reviewing those movies for you all. So let's have some fun. Before we get into those reviews, let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're excited for these movies, if you heard of these films, and if you were lucky enough to be in attendance at the festival, what was your experience like, as well as share some of your favorite movies in the comments below. So Elliot, what exactly is the Fantastic Festival? Well, let me let y'all know. This is a festival that has horror, fantasy, science fiction, action, and just plain fantastic movies. Their whole thing is for the love of genre. Fantastic Fest is the largest genre film festival in the United States, championing, challenging, and thought-provoking cinema while celebrating new voices and new stories from the filmmakers around the world. Now, I've personally been to like individual film festivals to see like one or two films, but this is the second time officially on my channel that I've covered the whole duration of the film festival. Back in 2020, I covered the Fantasia Festival, and then fast forward to where we are now, 2023, I got the opportunity to cover the Fantastic Fest, which covered between September 21st all the way to September 28th. So great time. I hope to do not only more remote access to these film festivals, but more of these in person, right? We're gonna speak that into existence. So we'll have more coverage, hopefully in the coming years, to enjoy for you all to take in. So let's get into my thoughts here. First and foremost, I will say technically I did see more movies that premiered at the Fantastic Fest, but I saw them outside the festival. Like I went to some critic screenings. I got some links to see some of those films. So the films I'm referring to are The Creator, Saw X, Pet Sematary Bloodlines. We have Totally Killer, and then coming in like another week or two, I'll have a full review for When Evil Lurks. So again, these were films that premiered at the festival, but I didn't see them at the festival, but I will have full reviews that are either on the channel now or will be coming on the channel. So click those links and check out my reviews for all those films in the description of today's video. First and foremost, I really had a good time. I really enjoyed the selection of films I saw, and I'll be honest with you all, I don't think any of these films, the 12 films I'm going to be going over today, I don't think any of them were like terrible or bad. But there were some that I liked more than others, and then unfortunately, some of those films do have to come down to the bottom of my list. So with that said, coming in at number 12 is a film by the name of We Are Zombies. Now the synopsis is, in a city infested with the living impaired, aka non-cannibal zombies, 3 slackers after easy money must fight small-time crooks and an evil mega corporation to save their kidnapped grandmother. Now, I'll be honest with you all, this is a very self-aware movie that never takes itself too seriously, but I just found it to be extremely kind of an uneven comedy slash zombie film that didn't really interest me until like the last 15 minutes of the film, which is a straight up gore fest. And I was hoping that most of the film was what we got in the last half of this film. I will say there was some great practical effects when it came to the designs of the zombies. There were some good laughs every now and then, but just as aware as this film was, I'm also aware that people will like the direction. I know the director has some other kind of more independent films with this sensibility that this film has, and I know people will enjoy. It just wasn't a film that I personally enjoyed. Now, I like the practical effects. There's some interesting premise of, again, in this world that's created, the zombies, they don't eat people. They are like fully functional people within society. So it's a cool premise, but they don't play with that premise enough for my personal taste. And again, it relies on you to like these 3 slackers that are trying to save their grandmother. I didn't find them too entertaining or enjoyable. Again, I like what they did at the end of the film, but on that journey, I just wasn't on board with them, and I didn't really find it to be that funny. So again, coming in at number 12 is a film by the name of We Are Zombies. That brings me into my number 11 film, Pet Sematary Bloodlines. Now, this film is obviously a prequel. This is a prequel to not the original 1989 film, but the 2019 film, which was... it was okay. But nonetheless, this particular film focused on a young Judd. We're going back to, I believe it was 1969. We're exploring him at his younger age when he first comes across the secrets of the pet cemetery and how it ties into his family that dates back to like the 1800s. So the idea is interesting, but it unfortunately just fell flat for me. Now, as far as my thoughts of the film, I'm a big fan of the original 1989 film, and there were elements of the 2019 in which I liked, but as I said, this film does explore the younger years of Judd as he explores the very beginnings of the cemetery, and it kind of has an interesting way of how they tackle that. There are some creepy atmospheric moments, but ultimately, this film just didn't work for me on a lot of levels. I found a lot of the dialogue to be bland and extremely repetitive. I cannot tell you all how many times this film said dead is better. They said it like 13 times. Sometimes they would half say it, or a truck would come by. I mean, they said it over, and it got so repetitive and kind of, it's a drinking game. How many times did they say it in the film? That was very annoying. I didn't really care for any of the characters, nor their motivations, and the performances and acting was just kind of flat for me. They try to make this pick 'em off slasher film where the scares were just too far in between, and they weren't creative at all. Overall, this film proved to me that sometimes dead is better, and I think they should just end this franchise. Again, it's a cool premise. I love that 89 version. It scared the hell out of me when I was young, man. It still scares me today. Like Auntie Zelda, and just that film freaks me out. And again, the sequel has some moments, and then the 2019 was didn't really like, but it had its moments. You know, Jason Clarke is a great actor, but I think they should just kill this franchise. But hey, this film, as I'm pre-recording this, I believe this will be available October 6th on Paramount Plus. So let me know if you are excited for the film. No disrespect if you are. And then, of course, once you've seen it, let me know what you all thought of the film. And is dead better? Let's talk about that in the comments below. So now we're getting into my top 10, and coming in at number 10, Bark. Now the tagline is "Some secrets don't stay buried," as we have charismatic Nolan who wakes up in the middle of a remote forest tied to a tree with no recollection of how he got there. With his time relentlessly running out, a mysterious stranger appears, and he must finally reckon with his demons of his past and fight to survive to find a way out of his nightmare. Now, Bark requires you to care for this mysterious character tied to the tree, but honestly, I was never sold on the character. I personally didn't really care for Nolan. I didn't find him to be charismatic at all, and I just didn't have any compassion or empathy towards him throughout the entire film. Now, as far as the performances go, I thought they were okay. Most of the time, I found myself more invested in the stranger who finds our main lead. He was more interesting than the character was, and there are some moments where the film does have some decent back and forth dialogue that explores relationships and companionship, and some nice scenery shots in the woods, but ultimately I just found this film just has a really interesting premise that kind of overwhelmed this stay. Like, this film is way too long for this premise. And I will end on this, no spoilers obviously, but the Nolan character, didn't like him. But once we get to the end and you find out what he did, I'm like, oh, bro, you deserve everything that's coming to you because you are a despicable human being. So I like how it kind of played to, like, I don't like this character, man. I don't care what happens to him. But when you find out what he did and what happens to him, you're like, deservingly so. So I will give the film that it does have a satisfying conclusion, but unfortunately, the journey to get to that conclusion just didn't work for me. So coming in at my number 9, we have There's Something in the Barn, and the tagline for that is Traditions Die Hard. An American family fulfills their dream of moving back to their roots after inheriting a remote cabin in the mountains of Norway, but there's a surprise waiting for them. Now, this film to me tried to do a cross between Christmas Vacation meets Gremlins, but it's not as funny nor as violent as those films. There's some occasional laughs, there's some bloody kills when we finally get there, but ultimately a lot of those moments don't happen until the last half of the film, which I was hoping was gonna be more of the first and second half of the movie. It's not terrible by any means, but it didn't take the advantage of this really cool premise. Without giving too much away, the thing that's in the trailer, the thing that's, I should say, in the actual barn, is ties into Christmas and Santa Claus, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. And there's multiple and various different versions of what's in the barn, and I just wish they would have explored that more throughout the film and kind of played into this idea of a Christmas slasher movie and really lean more into the blood and the gore, because it gets bloody, it gets gory, and there's fun to be had, but it's like 20 minutes left in the film. So again, kind of similar to Bark, I liked the ending, but getting up to the ending just wasn't a fun experience for me personally. So those are my thoughts on There's Something in the Barn. Coming in at number 8 is the Poland film by the name of Mushrooms. Now this film follows an old lady who stumbles upon a lost couple while picking mushrooms. Now they beg for help getting out of the forest, but she senses that something is off. Now I thought the director did a really solid job of building the tension in his 75-minute runtime and really conveying, making this unnerving feeling that something bad is bound to happen at some point. The cinematography is beautiful in this movie and really captures this fairy tale in the woods environment. The pacing didn't entirely work for me, but by the end, I was left shocked, and when you get to reveal, I didn't expect that. So this is a movie that's a slow burn. Like, you're following just 3 characters, and again, there's 2 young couples that come across this older lady. She seems to be nice, but as the film kind of unfolds, you don't really know who to trust. Can you trust the couple? Is this old lady sinister? And as it plays out, it's a really shocking ending. But again, the build up, the slow burn, it takes a while to pick up. But once it does, it is something that will leave you shocked. So Mushrooms was a film I really enjoyed, and definitely excited to see what you all think about it once it is available to the public. Coming in at number 7 is the Spain film by the name of The Coffee Table. Now we follow this couple that's going through a difficult time in their relationship. Nevertheless, they just became parents. To shape their new life, they decide to buy a new coffee table, a decision that will change their existence. Now, about 10 minutes into this film, I'm going to be honest with you all, I was completely speechless of what happens. Like, there's something that happens very, very, very early on in this film, and I almost couldn't finish the movie. That's how, like, shocking this moment is of the film is. It's like it shakes you to the core. I'll just say that. So it was really hard to kind of finish the film, but I ultimately did. And I will say, as finishing this movie, the acting was great. The director really plays with tension incredibly well for this 90-minute runtime. It deals with the conflict of unspoken issues within a relationship so well. I'll be honest, it is extremely hard to watch and get past what happens at a certain point. But even with that said, I can't stress enough, this is a bleak and brutal film, and one that I will never forget. Like, again, this opening sequence, well, you have the opening sequence to kind of show you that they have a bad relationship and they're buying a coffee table, but then after that, my goodness, man, it's still sticking to me today. Like, I couldn't imagine being in that position. And it's a good film. It's just rough to get through after you see what happens to somebody in this film. And it shakes you to the core, and it sticks with you. It sticks with me to this day. Moving on to my next film, which is my number 6, which is also another Spain film by the name of You're Not Me. And the tagline reads, "We are all replaceable." Now we have our main character who returns home for Christmas for the first time after 3 years to find her parents have replaced her with this unknown woman who is being treated like their daughter as she discovers a disturbing and bloody truth. Now this film, You're Not Me, is the kind of film that I love to discover at film festivals like this. It has a really interesting mixture of Hereditary meets The Invitation. It takes its time, but it eventually descends into this bloody horror family drama during the Christmas celebration. There's some predictable moments here and some pacing issues, but it has a very solid payoff at the end. I definitely am going to add this to my Christmas horror rotation every year. This is a movie you all want to see. Like, again, this is another one of those slow burns. You're kind of like, the main character, she was getting on my nerve for most of the film. I'm like, dude, you're being dramatic. Like, you need to calm down. But you're starting to see, like, maybe she's onto something. And once you get to the revelation of, like, who is this stranger that her family's kind of replacing her with, she has a brother that's disabled, and he kind of gets tied into the mix. She brings her wife and their baby, and the baby gets involved. It's a good payoff. Like, again, it reminds me so much of, like, Hereditary, and there was a film on Netflix that came out, like, almost 8 years ago called The Invitation. Very similar, sinister vibes. And again, the payoff really delivers. So again, You're Not Me was a film I really, really enjoyed, and that's why it's coming in my number 6. So before we get into my top 5, I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor of this video, Into the AM. Today's video is sponsored by Into the AM. Into the AM is a clothing company with a variety of amazing products such as t-shirts, hoodies, jackets, shorts and underwear, headwear, and much more. Their t-shirts have unique designs, they're incredibly soft and extremely comfortable, and they're made to last. But the best part is, you can get 10% off by using my discount code MovieFiles when you're selecting your new gear, which you can find that code in the description below. As we approach the fall season, it's time to switch it up and get into some awesome gear with Into the AM. Get your elevated everyday apparel with Into the AM. I'm a big fan of Into the AM. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. I have a ton of their shirts in my closet. I love the material that they make their clothes with. I love how it feels on me. I love the design. So I'm a big fan. And if you all are looking for some new apparel, definitely check out their information in the description of this video. They got some great sales going on right now, especially when it comes to the fall season. They're going to be having a Cyber Monday sale, a Black Friday sale, so you can take advantage of the sale, use my discount code, you're gonna be happy with it. So help yourself out, get some cool, new, awesome apparel. But also, if you are a fan of this channel, you want to support the channel, check out the description, the link in the description to help out the channel in that way. So again, thank you to today's sponsor of Into the AM. Back into today's video, and now we're in that top 5 category, and coming in at my number 5, Your Lucky Day, which is a story about a hostage situation that breaks out over $156 million lottery ticket in a convenience store on Christmas Eve. This film is a very interesting crime thriller set in one location that follows the classic story of greed leading to some major dire consequences. Watching the strangers trying to get this $156 million lottery ticket was just so compelling, so engaging. The first 45 minutes were excellent, especially when we get to a certain point of this film, but it does kind of lose some momentum in the middle, and it kind of becomes a little unrealistic and illogical. I will say, rest in peace to Agnes Cloud, who gives a phenomenal performance in this film. Even though it didn't entirely work for me, I would still recommend this movie. It is a thrilling, suspenseful kind of like I said, crime situation going on with them getting this ticket. And again, Agnes was so great in this movie. Again, I wish the middle half of the film was a little bit stronger and focused more on the stuff that I liked, but it kind of gets into this moment where it's like, that doesn't seem real, and it seems like some really dumb decisions happening. But collectively though, I will recommend this film. And again, rest in peace to Mr. Agnes Cloud. What a great actor. That brings me into my number 4, which is a film that comes from Japan by the name of One Percenter. As two reckless gangs interrupt the shooting of this action flick at this abandoned factory, the action star isn't pleased and he has to fight them. So One Percenter is a very highly entertaining, incredibly crafted, fast-paced action movie with some out-of-the-world stunt performances. Brilliant performance from our main lead, who plays this aging action star trying to shoot his perfect action movie. We have these crime syndicates that get in his way. It has some unexpected levity at points, but it is extremely thrilling with some phenomenal martial arts sequences, and it still manages to focus on having like an actual character arc that fits perfectly with this very distinctive style and tone. Very big fan of this film. I'm a fan of action. I love hand-to-hand combat. This is some incredible action. You know, I love me some John Wick. I love me some Extraction. We've had some really good action movies this year. But man, I'm telling y'all, when it comes to the martial arts in this movie and the choreographed fights and the stunts and where the fights take place, excellent. Excellent, excellent. And again, the main performer, the story, the emotional beats, the levity, surprising levity, and the jokes the film has. And when we get the main standoff at the end of the film, it plays with your mind for a bit. Like, wait a minute, is this really happening? Is this not happening? And then when you get the reveal, I love this movie. One Percenter is a fantastic action film that I can't speak highly enough of. That's why it's coming in at my number 4. We're now getting to my top 3 territory now, and coming in at my number 3 is a film by the name of River. This is a Japan film that takes place at this stand-in. It's a very quiet, remote area, as we have one of our employees who stands in front of this inn. She goes back to the building, then she somehow ends up in the same spot 2 minutes later. She finds herself back at the river again. This whole inn seems to be stuck in a time loop. River is such a delightful and incredible, unexpected science fiction comedy with so much charm. It is easily one of the best time loop experiences that I've seen in a very long time. It is written so well. It is written in such a creative way. It is beautifully acted from the entire cast. The filmmakers truly put together such a clever and impressive, complex technical achievement that will be a marvelous, lasting, profound effect on you after you watch it. One of my favorite films of the festival. I love this movie. Like, this might end up being like in my top 10 movies of this year. So riveting, so much fun. It is just charming. Like, I'm just sitting there watching this film. Like, I love all these characters. I'm a science fiction fan, so the fact that there's like a time travel, time loop situation, you're trying to figure out what happened, how do we resolve this, is it really happening? So much goodness. I can't recommend River enough. Like, I love this movie to the core, so it is my number 3. But now there's only 2 left, so coming in at my number 2, the last stop of Yuma County. When a traveling knife salesman is forced to wait for fuel at this isolated rest stop, violence comes around him when 2 bank robbers arrive during their getaway from a bank heist. This is an incredible heist thriller western with incredibly tense, double-crossing, heart-pounding moments set in all of one location. This is a must-see movie. I couldn't take my eyes away from this film. Incredible performances. It has like a mixture of Fargo meets Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. Purely entertaining. Again, it's in one location. You have about like 6 or 7 characters. We have this bank heist with these robbers that are super tense, unpredictable. You will not predict how this film shakes out. It is a bloody western, good, well-written performances, great moments, clever dialogue, and again, it just keeps you on the edge of your seat. Like, I love this movie. Can't recommend it enough. But it wasn't better than my number 1, which happens to be a film by the name of Strange Darling. This is one of those films where the less you know, the better. As the synopsis goes, one day in the twisted love life of a serial killer, Strange Darling is a quintessential what did I just watch movie in the best way possible. It is incredibly made. It is a cat and mouse non-linear storytelling film that will leave you shocked by all of its twists and turns. Kyle Gallner is fantastic in this movie. Like, he is so great in this movie, but Willa Fitzgerald delivers a world-class performance. I was in awe of her performance. It reminded me so much of, and hopefully this doesn't give too much away, but it's just in the sense of the performance-wise, Mia Goth and X and Pearl, that sense of like what's going on in this character's head, the moments of like getting into defending herself, getting into some sentence into madness. I was in awe of Willa. I've never seen Willa in anything before. I know she's been in some other projects. I'm really excited to see her in the new Mike Flanagan show. Oh my goodness, this is a type of like a career performance that if she's not on the map, she will be after this film. Oh my goodness, she was so great. I loved her in this film. It's a film that can be playful, it can be fun, but at the same time, it is dark, it is disturbing, while showcasing a day in the life of a serial killer. Go into this movie without knowing nothing, and you, like me, will be floored. This was my number 1 film. This is like, to me, again, there were so many great movies I saw. Again, River, all the stuff I just mentioned. But this is the type of movie that I love seeing at film festivals, because it's like, I knew nothing about it. Obviously, I didn't see a trailer. Hopefully, as this video comes out, there'll be like more information on when it'll be available to see in theaters or on streaming services. This is a must-see film, y'all. Again, very similar to River. In my number 2 film, this might be in my top 10. It probably will be in my top 10. I love this film, Strange Darling, so much. So there you have it, y'all. My 12 through 1, all 12 of the films. And as I mentioned, there were some other movies I saw that were a part of the festival, what I saw outside of the festival. You can check out those reviews in the description of this very video. Fantastic festival. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to cover these wonderful films. Again, I hope to be there live in the flesh next year or the year after and make this like a tradition for me, because I was just very much pleased with everything. The online process, it had some issues at the beginning, some technical issues, but it was resolved. It was easy to get a hold of the PRs, to get the films. I requested to see a lot more movies. I just wasn't able to see them all because some of them I didn't hear back from. And also I had, a scheduling to, I wanted to see more films when I'm getting out, because I was just so impressed by the films I was able to see. So again, thank you to Fantastic Festival. Thank you to my audience here, because again, if it wasn't for you all, I might have not gotten an opportunity to have this media access. So I'm always thankful for this community for allowing me to grow and continue to grow. And thank you all for the support. Again, before we wrap up, I want to thank the sponsors of today's video, Into the AM. Again, take advantage of their sales, take advantage of my code. You won't be disappointed. I love my apparel. And again, using my code helps out the channel. So I appreciate them. And I thank you all again. Before we wrap this thing up, like, share, comment below, and consider subscribing subscribes to the channel, helping me reach my next milestone of 60,000 wonderful people that support this channel. Thank you all for watching today's video. Hope you're staying safe. Hope you had a good time. More festivals coming soon. Check out all my reviews that I've done on the channel so far. Check out my most recent review, and I'll catch you all on the next video.